We're excited today for Black Label Supplements to have Tanner Conner on from the Miami Dolphins, a former Idaho State Bengal. He's been an NIL athlete with Black Label Supplements. Now he's in the NFL, and we're extremely excited to have him. We've been wanting to get him on for some time, but when you're in camp and doing those things in the NFL, time is difficult. So we're extremely excited to have you on, Tanner, and thank you for your time. Why don't you just really quickly give us a little intro of where you're at, what you're doing right now, and how things are going in Miami?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited to do this today. Like you said, I have a lot of time constraints. It's been pretty busy, but this off season has been pretty free. So we've been doing a lot of traveling and stuff. As of right now, we're kind of in our off season training protocol. And so what that means is most guys are either here or somewhere else training, wherever they feel most comfortable, and just kind of getting in shape and getting their bodies right for training camp here late July. So Miami's great. My wife and I love it. She might walk in here at some point to pick up the dog, but you won't see her. We loved it here, and everything we've done has been great. Pretty much picked up everything we had, and moved out over here, and started our lives here. So it's been good. We went to the Keys last weekend, and we're going on a cruise tomorrow to the Bahamas. So we're pretty excited for that.
Hey, you got to get your trips in while you can, because once the season starts, I'm sure it's over.
Yeah, Elsie's pretty good about being cognizant of that. So she made sure that we had lots of trips planned, so that when season starts, that I can do my thing and she can support me. So she's good.
That's great. Well, I got a special place in my heart for Kelsey. Kelsey and I worked out at the Black Label headquarters at our CrossFit gym. She's a beast. She's very, very intense gal in the gym. It was an honor to get to know her. So make sure you tell her hi from us all at the gym.
Yeah, well, she's still that way.
Does she still CrossFit?
Oh yeah, she found a gym out here very quickly. She loves it. She's actually setting new PRs. I don't know if you knew, but she got knee surgery her final year at ISU to kind of fix some things, and she's like smashing all of her old PRs on squat and cleans and snatch and everything. So she's doing really good.
Well, she always told me she was tougher than you. I didn't believe her, but I guess we got to believe it.
She's very tough. She's a firecracker, and she's pretty stubborn. Probably more stubborn than I am.
Well, good. So Tanner, as a former Bengal, we have a special place in our heart for you as well. It's really an honor to see an Idaho State Bengal in the NFL. Tell us about the process and the transition from going from Division I NCAA football directly into the NFL. What was it like?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody who's been in the NFL talks about, but the main change is the speed of the game. Everything is kind of the same in terms of football, but like it just moves faster. And so every play is more important. Like there are specific plays that we run, and it's like we only got one shot this play, so it has to be perfect when we rep it in practice and get ready to use it in a game because we'll never use it again. It feels like there's just way more on the line from a play-by-play basis. For me, it was unique because I ended up switching positions. I played wide receiver my entire life, and then decided at the highest level to switch positions again and play tight end. And so that was a whole new roller coaster for me. But I have great coaches who support me and believe in me, and it's been a very enlightening transition. But it's been tough, especially during your rookie season, to take on a new position and learn how to run block and stuff. But I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy that I'm continuing to improve.
Was that change facilitated by them as you graduated college and they said, hey, this is where you can fit in the NFL? Or is that something that you had worked out with them and they gave you the option?
Yeah. So for me, it was, for me, after the draft ended, I had pretty much 10 to 12 teams call me, and half of them wanted me to play the receiver, and the other half were talking about transitioning me to tight end because I was always a tweener. I was 230 pounds, and I'm 6'3", which is a little big to play receiver, but a little light to play tight end. And so I had a couple teams who asked me, and they was like, we're cool with you playing receiver, and some wanted me to transition. And for me, what did it, Coach John Embry, who's with the Miami Dolphins, coached Tony Gonzalez, George Kittle, a bunch of big name tight ends, and has a really good pedigree in terms of his knowledge. And it's like, I think you can make yourself a special spot in the NFL and kind of be something we haven't seen before. And so we want to be able to utilize you to the best of your strengths and abilities. And that kind of sold it for me. It was definitely a leap of faith because if you're going to go to a higher level, you want to stick to what you're comfortable with so you can at least have a chance. But for me, it was kind of trusting that vision of Embo and just taking a leap of faith and trusting myself that I'll be able to figure it out.
Tony Gonzalez is down there, huh?
Yeah, well, my coach coached him, but
that is a big,
yeah.
yeah.
So He coached George Kittle from the time he was a rookie until 2 years ago, and so he helped develop him as well. And that's obviously a big name tight end. So kind of figured he knew what he was talking about, and that he could figure it out with me. He's done it before. He's transitioned other receivers to tight ends. Kind of figured that he knows what he's talking about.
That's great. So you go year one, you make the team. The thought process probably is, I just got to make the roster and or just make the practice squad, right?
Yeah.
How does that change going into year two for you?
Yeah, so last year I was just trying to make anything at all. I didn't care if it was the active, the practice squad. I just wanted to be on the team and be in the NFL. And so after I made the team, I was super blessed and kind of honored to do that. Did everything the best of my ability to help the team win. So I played a lot of roles and special teams and stuff, and it was a good backup as tight end. But going into year two, I kind of want to see myself be more developed in our offense and be able to actually contribute more on the offensive side. And that's kind of their vision for me as well. And I think it's, when I first came in, Embo told me that he was expecting me to be a 3-4 year project, like be on practice squad my first year or two and then develop as a tight end. But he ended up telling me, him and obviously all the head coach and everybody said that I developed way faster than they anticipated and that they had to keep me around. And so they decided to take a chance on me, and that they were kind of, investing in who I was and hoping that I could be a contributing factor, hopefully this year and the year to come.
That's great.
So let me, if you don't mind, back up a little bit. So after your pro day, or I don't know what the process is, and that's kind of what I'm hoping you could share with us, is do these teams start contacting you and say, hey, we might draft you, or hey, if you don't get drafted, we're going to sign you as a free agent, or we're going to bring you in to try out? Like, what was that process?
Yeah, so every team gets 30 visits, I think. It's called the top 30, and they can bring guys in before the draft to kind of see who they are in person, what they kind of want to make them tick. And so I took visits to Miami, Kansas City, and I did the Seattle local pro day. So I went out there, worked out, caught routes, ran 40s and stuff, met Pete Carroll and everybody. And so those are kind of the three teams that I physically went and met. I had other teams calling throughout the process. And just like you said, there are teams that will call you before the draft, during, and after the draft. So I had a lot of teams call before, but like it doesn't really mean anything because everything changes on draft day. And so during the draft, I was having teams calling me and saying, hey, do I want to take you here? Am I take you in this, later in the rounds? And then some teams would call me in the 5th, 6th, 7th to be like, hey, we're going to offer you a free agent contract once the draft ends. So that's kind of where it was for me. I knew I was going to be a top draft guy. I had no problem with that. But I was just excited to get some calls at all. But it definitely changes. If you ask any guy, like it never goes according to how they thought it was going to go. They get picked up by a team they've never even talked to before, or like the teams they talk to the most completely ghost them. It's just, everything is really weird once the draft hits, picks start coming in.
Yeah, it is unique. I played with a guy by the name of Jared Allen my college career, and the guy was a player, obviously. Didn't think he was going to get picked up, got a free agent contract, and all of a sudden, he's a future Hall of Famer. So you just never know. One of the things about you that I really find unique in watching you throughout your career, the first time I watched a track meet at ISU that you ran in, the first thing I did was look at you and go, what is this football guy out here running track for? Like, because you're big, right? I mean, your arms, you're just a specimen. And I saw you on the track and I'm like, these small, skinny guys are going to just run right past this guy in the hurdles. And you just blew everyone out of the water. And it's just your size and your strength, your athleticism is unmatched. And even watching on the football field, you'd line up against these small DBs that were super quick, and your strides, you just go right past them. Is that just natural strength and size, or I mean, brothers are big too? And didn't your dad play in the NFL?
Yeah, so my dad played a few years in the NFL. He played at University of Oregon, outside linebacker. Shoulder injury ended his career. Back then, there was less protections on injuries, but he definitely played for a few years.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it was just apparent from the first time I saw you that your body and the way you had trained and prepared yourself just set you on a different level, which was really unique to watch at your size. So
yeah, I mean, we can talk about that if you want. Like, athleticism obviously ran in my family, both me and my two younger brothers. All three of them will end up at ISU now. My youngest brother's going to come and be an athlete there too. So the pipeline for ISU, I guess. But
and that's Alex, right? Alex?
Yeah, Alex. Yeah.
From what I hear, he's going to run track and potentially play football like you did.
Yeah, that's his goal. I know football is a little hesitant to do that right now. I think they want to see how he does the first year. I think I don't know much, but from what I understand is that they don't want to put too much on his plate his first year in college, which I understand. But that's the end goal. He actually was a big basketball player and then kind of lost the love of the game and wanted to go a different route. And so I was like, hey man, it's too bad no one's ever done that before. You have nowhere to look to see if anybody's ever done football and track in college. So, but I'm the smallest of our brothers. Alex is bigger. He's taller than me, and Zach's bigger than me. But I always had like elite athleticism. I could jump, I could run. I was always kind of like goofy growing up. I was a little kind of like raw athleticism. But in college, I kind of tamed that and kind of grew into my frame, became more coordinated. So even here, like we do, training here where I run and I jump and stuff, and guys say the same thing. Like there should be no reason that a guy this big can move that fast. Like I'm just like a walking metric. So that's what it was so good for me at UW, because I was able to go out there and show people that a person in my size can do way more than they thought they could do. That's why it really opened the eyes for the scouts and the teams to see what I could do.
And you ran like a 4.3 something 40, right? That's your size.
Yeah.
4.37. That's unheard of. So last year I ran into you after an ISU football game, you and Kelsey after, and I could tell you were extremely overwhelmed, stressed. You had an injury, just all those things going on for a first-year rookie. How's your confidence level, your stress level, anxiety going into year two? Is it much different?
Yeah, it's a lot different. We can talk about that too. Last year, I tore my PCL in the first preseason game, and I remember going into the 10, they're doing the tests, like ACL good, MCL good. When PCL, my knee completely shifted. I completely start crying. Like, I was like, they're going to come me. Like, it's the first preseason game. I haven't done enough. Like, it's just over with. Like, injuries that early, like, and especially for a free agent, you're disposable. So, I get out the tent. I'm like, whatever. We'll see what happens. And my coach calls me over and he's like, hey, man, what are you so sad about? I'm like, my knee, coach. Like, it's going to be done for a little bit. He's like, don't worry about it. Just be ready for week one. And told me that they had already decided they were going to have me on the 53 before that. And so, huge blessing, I think, in my life, and really tested my faith. And I've always had, faith in God and in that aspect. And so just really blessed to be around people who could see through that and see my work ethic, even through an injury. And so obviously I came back, I was ready by week 2, played the rest of the season. I was definitely not 100%. I would say I was about 70, 80 because the PCL kind of lingers for a while. And on top of that, you're trying to learn how to play special teams for the first time, because I've never played special teams before. So I'm on all 4 of them. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I'm trying to learn the offense, the new install every single week. And so obviously those things compound. And like at one point, I'm not very emotional, but like it definitely started to wear on me, where like Kelsey was worried about me, and I was bringing it home, which you never want to do. You never want to bring work home. And so the end of the season, I sit down with my coach and he's like, hey man, like this next year, we just want to make sure that like you're confident in yourself. Like you work harder than anybody else. Like we're not worried about that. We just need you to be more confident in your abilities, and we're going to do a better job of making you confident in yourself. And so at the end of the year, that was really good to hear that, all the stuff, the extra stuff I was doing, walkthroughs by myself, walkthroughs with my other rookie teammates after practice and stuff was really going to pay off. And so going into this year, my mindset is completely different. I'm not worried about failing anymore. I'm not worried about messing up and like getting cut or like, failing my coaches. I'm just really more focused on just improving every single day. And so the mindset has definitely shifted. And rookie year is hard, but adding a catastrophic injury like a knee tear definitely makes it harder.
Yeah. So that's wild. So you knew, because on our end, at least for me, as a fan of you and a former Bengal athlete as well, like I was watching every week when they were announcing cuts and roster changes and stuff in the preseason, like what's going to happen to Tanner. So you knew already early on, and I know there's no guarantee, but it seems like you had an idea that you were going to make the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you said. I know there's a lot of I've talked to a lot of vets, and a lot of coaches will say things and then do something else. And so in the back of my head, I'm like, it's not a done deal yet. Every week the cuts went by and I was still there. And by the end of it, my coach was like, "You just didn't trust me? You thought we were just gonna cut you?" I was like, "I don't know, man. Like it's my first doing this." So it just kind of drove me that much more to be like the guy who's going to work for them. And like, I told my coach, I'm like, if I ever get cut, it's going to be because I'm not good enough, not because I didn't do enough. So that's kind of my mindset is at now. And that if I ever get cut, I know it's going to be because of my physical ability, not because of what I did or didn't do.
Yeah. So you get to the NFL, you make the roster. How starstruck are you your first year in the NFL when you walk in the locker room and you got Tyreek Hill, these big names, these flamboyant personalities? I know Tanner Conner. I would describe you as like a superhero, like the Peter Parker. If you look at Tanner Conner's face, he's just this nice guy, religious, down to earth. And you walk in this locker room and you got a guy like Tyreek and all these other NFL guys that they're pretty outgoing and out there.
Yeah.
How was that? How was it?
So my first year, we changed lockers this year, but my first year, my locker was Mike Gesicki, Tyreek Hill, and then me, and that's my practice guys. So I spent the whole year next to him and Mike Gesicki, and it was just like, for me, I was starstruck when I saw Mike because I grew up watching him making just insane plays and really being a force in the offense. And obviously Tyreek is Tyreek, and so being able to like see those guys and just know that they're human too, like they're just that football guys, and they're like normal people was pretty eye opening for me. I mean, you have like big names like Tua, we have like Bradley Chubb and all these guys, but it was definitely, it's something that's become starstruck, but you also learn how human they are. Like they all make the same mistakes. Like they all are trying to become better every single day and improvement. Like they're not like these perfect beings that everybody kind of thinks of them on TV. And so it was really cool to see that, like, no matter how big the name is, they can be just as down to earth as, anybody else. And so that was kind of the biggest eye-opening thing for me, is noticing that no matter how big, how much money they make, they're still human.
That's awesome.
So was it like, the traditional thought of in high school and college in the locker room, there's a huge disparity between the great athletes and the athletes that aren't playing as much or whatever? Was there some mutual respect there in the NFL, or is there still like a chip on their shoulder and they kind of avoid you or stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think you're kind of like referring to like cliques and stuff like. Well, right. So our team is really good. They do the typical like rookie, I'm not gonna say hazing because it's never that malicious, but like the rookies buy snacks and stuff like that. My room was good to me. They didn't make me do a lot. But our team, I think because of our coaching, is like very cohesive. Like it's a whole unit that's just trying to work towards one goal. And even till this day, I've never noticed any cliques or anything like that. After this last season, the coaches made it apparent they were getting rid of guys who they thought were not helping our team and maybe were cancers to the locker room. And so they're trying to find not the best players. Our coaches were very like adamant about finding the guys who are going to make us the best team, not necessarily the best player. And so they're more worried about taking a guy who they know is going to work, and it might not be the most like gifted player on the planet Earth, but they can make them good just by how they work and how they approach each and every day. And so our locker room is great. We have a great atmosphere between the offense and defense. Even when guys get into fights at practice, like they're talking after, and like it's just like it's business. Like, and so it's really cool. It's really cool to be on this team. On my position group right now is awesome. I love these guys. I have a lot of older guys and I have younger guys underneath me, and so the dynamic, it's all kind of, we're equal. We're all working towards the same thing, and no one's above anybody else. So our team dynamic is great.
Yeah, you've come to the Miami Dolphins on a year where, I mean, the Miami Dolphins are becoming relevant, right? Past, who are the Dolphins, other than watching them on Ace Ventura or whatever it may be, right? But the Dolphins have become relevant. You guys have a lot of big names. You're winning games. What's the outlook going into your second year? What are the goals for the Dolphins?
All right, we're always trying to win a Super Bowl. I would say to get there, we need to do a better job of staying healthy. I think injury is what really crippled us last season, obviously. And so we can just do a good job of staying healthy and stay on top of our bodies. We have all the talent in the entire world to go all the way. So that's always the goal. We obviously want that first playoff win that we haven't had in however many years. I think that's obviously the immediate goal, and then go further than that and take it all. But we can stay healthy. We, just like you said, we have a lot of names, a lot of guys, and a lot of depth that we can work with.
You talk about being healthy, which a lot of NFL athletes, even college athletes, part of winning is, and part of being a relevant player is staying healthy. Obviously, looking at you physically, you are a specimen. How do you stay healthy? Obviously, you're working out so many hours a day. What do you do to stay healthy?
Yeah. The first thing my head trainer told me when I got here is that the NFL is a game of attrition. The guys who have the most players that can go to the playoffs are the ones who usually win. And so our strength staff does a really good job. I've been working with them the whole off season. And so I've done a really good job of improving my muscle related injuries like hamstrings, quad, pulls, stuff like that. That's something that really plagued me during my college career. I had a lot of those injuries. And so working with our new strength staff, like really like becoming like a whole structured person. Like I was always really strong in the weight room. I could lift a lot of weight, but my small muscles, my stabilizers were always really weak, and I would get injured because I would lift too much weight and not be able to handle it. And so we do a lot of like core stability and a lot of like, hamstring stressing on a daily basis. And they do a really good job of using science to kind of measure our load. Like they can measure every single player's load and see if they need more or less reps for the next day of practice. And so that's something they use to their advantage. Like we'll have GPS trackers on us every single day. And if we're in the red too much, they'll tell the coach, hey, you should probably dial his reps back or else we're going to start seeing soft tissue stuff. And so I think just the resources we have and, the minds that we have and the connection between our strength staff and our coaches is what really helps you stay healthy. For me personally, a PCL is something that's really hard to avoid. Any kind of knee injury, tear, that's just something that happens when your foot gets stuck and your body goes one way and doesn't go the other way. But for me, I just try to stay on top of it, treat my body as my job. Like I'm getting like regular massages. You pay for that. You go and get regular PT. I go to PT every single day with the physical therapist I like. And so I think it's just treating your body as your job is the best way to stay healthy.
I have a question about that part as well. You mentioned your strength staff and your PT, stuff like that. What resources do the Dolphins provide you, and what resources is it up to you on what you utilize?
Yeah, so the Dolphins have obviously a full strength staff, a full athletic training staff that has a PT, and then obviously trainers who can go through rehab and stuff. Like I did my entire rehab. His name is Troy. He's one of the trainers. I did my entire rehab with him. And so it really went really well, and he was able to get me back in the field quickly. In terms of like what we can do outside of that, they'll give us resources to like people they know, because they know that every athlete's different. And some athletes, either they want a change of scenery or they just want to try something new, maybe with a new person who might know their body better. And so they allow athletes to go and, do whatever they want, find other PTs, go back home to places where they might be more familiar with, their physical therapist or something like that. So a lot of athletes will do that. They'll take advantage. They'll go, wherever they want to. But the Dolphins themselves have everything we technically need. And so it's a good relationship, because they don't get upset if an athlete wants to go somewhere else, to get fixed or to see another physical therapist or another doctor or another, eyes on their injury. So I think that's what makes our training staff so good, is that they're able to use their resources to help us in any way possible.
Yeah. And is there any contractual obligation to use the strength staff, or is that all optional?
During the season, it's not. Obviously during training camp, like that's how they kind of mark if you're there. During OTAs, the way you got paid per day was it being in the weight room and doing the weight stuff. Like that's how they would pay guys. And so, but there's no, like, to my knowledge, contractual obligation that you have to work out there. I know some guys, like there's a lot of guys, like right now, there's only like a handful, 15 to 20 of us who are training there every single day. A lot of guys are back home in other states training somewhere else. And so, in terms of the off season, you really kind of have whatever you want to do, but during the season, they definitely expect you to be in the weight room and lifting. Like they have dedicated times for every position group in offense and defense. And so, that's kind of how they mark if you're there or not on the day.
That's great. One of the things, when we talk about recovery and taking care of our bodies, and I know this is important to you because I've heard you talk about it, is nutrition. So with the Dolphins, do they have like an RD on staff that helps you guys with weight gain, weight loss, calorie intake, all those different types of things?
Yeah, we have a team nutritionist, and he's also has a degree in athletic science as well. So he has a pretty good blend of knowledges. So I've actually worked with him. He does like an in-body scan. I don't know if you heard of that. It's like where you step on the scale, hold things, and measure your body fat. And so we'll do like those periodically. He also works in conjunction with our coaches on what weight we're supposed to be. And so for me, like last year, my weight cap was 232 pounds, which is really light for a tight end. And so this year, me and John, our nutritionist, I was like, hey, can we work with Embo on bumping that up? Like I feel like I need a little bit more weight to hold my own. And so this year we're going to start at 236 for my weight cap. And if you go over that, you get fined, but at least it's better than 232. And so everybody else,
even if you're lean, if you go over your weight, you can get fined, huh?
$740 per pound over your cap.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it's pretty serious.
On their calculations and their scientific metric of saying okay, Tanner will lose speed or whatever if he gets over that weight?
They do, but it's ultimately up to your coach. So like my coach is really scared of me getting too big and not like and losing my edge, because like their plan with me is having that speed as the edge. And so last year, I think I ended the season at like 225, which was light for me. I was obviously stressed, not eating very well. So I was losing a lot of weight. This year, I came into OTs. I was like 237, 238. My coach looks at me and he's like, "Hey, you look a lot bigger. Are you sure you want to be that big?" I'm like, "Yeah, coach. Watch me out there today. Tell me if I look slow." And he's like, "All right." And sure enough, I still was fast. And he's like, "Okay, as long as you stay fast, that's all I care about. So just keep that in mind." But usually the big guys, the O lineman, D lineman have the toughest job because they'll have a weight cap that they have to stay under. But those guys are, banking their performance on how big they are and how much weight they can move. So those guys have a bigger struggle than I do. But sometimes it's hard to stay under that weight cap, especially when I have to block 270-pound defensive ends and I'm 235 pounds. But that's what they want me at. So that's where I go. And it's always the coach's discretion.
So do they help you with your macro intake? Do they provide you meals, or are you on your own with meals?
Okay, so in the off season, they don't have our cafeteria open, but during the season, they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner for us every day, and they have a wide plethora of other snacks and stuff, protein shakes, every day during like Dolphins activity, whether it's OTAs or training camp or during the season. I get like a personal protein shake made for me every single day, which is nice. I do it post training, and then obviously there's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we have a whole cafeteria with different options, and so. It's probably the best food I've ever had in terms of a cafeteria setting. It's better than some food I see at restaurants. It's amazing. I don't know where they found these people, but it's awesome. We'll get like pineapple, watermelon, glazed salmon, like bison, ribs. Like it's just, they bring in crazy stuff. And so they make sure we're fed. But in terms of nutrition, like, yeah, I've worked with John this off season on helping, because I get, my blood sugar will drop a lot. So we're trying to figure out ways what I should eat before practice. And we kind of just came to the conclusion that I need to eat way more than I think I do before practice, because I have a high metabolism and I burn through really fast. And so having that resource available at all times, whenever you feel like maybe your nutrition's out of whack, is nice. But he'll design entire diet and meal plans for you based on what your goals are.
That's good. So as far as tight end goes, weight wise, you're probably one of the smaller tight ends in the league, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But you're probably one of the fastest.
Yes, correct.
So they're probably using that skill to get you, open in space, different things like that, or maybe not use you as a blocker as much as a route running tight end.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. In the league, at least in most offenses, you'll have a Y tight end and an F tight end, which is more of a flex. And so obviously I fall under that flex tight end category, which they expect me to block in the run game, but they're going to do it in like conducive to like what's best for me, whether I'm tripling with a tackle or getting help from somebody. But then in the passing game, they expect me to be able to go and run good routes against linebackers and safeties, where like a more traditional Y is going to be really involved with the run game, like 12 personnel, like gap zone type runs, and they're going to be in the trenches a lot more, but they don't expect me to do that. But my coach always tells us the better we can block in the run game, the more open we become in the pass game, because if I come in and the team knows that I'm a flex tight end, there's probably going to be a pass. And so they still expect me to be able to block in certain schemes and stuff like that. And so that's obviously what I'm working on right now. But just to your point, I'm definitely the smallest in my room right now, but I'm also the fastest.
Yeah, speed kills.
So how detailed is your playbook? So a two-part question. How detailed was your playbook, and then learning that? And then second part of that is, how much flexibility or freedom during a play do you have? Or is the play set up so that you have to do specific things, or is it you do that thing unless your read is different and then you do something different?
Yeah, sure. I'm like option route. So our playbook is, I learned after this first year, it's one of the most complicated in the entire NFL. So that was really hard as a rookie. It's the Kyle Shanahan offense, and the 49ers run it, and that's where my coaching tree came from. And so it's we use everything, every kind of personnel. We have a very wide plethora of formations, variations, motions, play types. I remember last year during this time, I was back home and I had like 200 note cards of just formations and formation variations, not even plays. So like Kelsey comes up and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just writing down formations right now. I haven't gotten to the plays yet." And so I can't even put it into words how complex our playbook is. And not only that, but we have you learn like a set 7 installs during training camp. And then during the season, we install literally an entire new playbook every single week for that team. Like we take plays and we modify them, modify personnel, who we want running certain routes. And so we learn like a base knowledge of it, and then we have to learn something new every single week. So like every single week we'll have new plays, and no matter how good you are at the offense, unless you're Mike McDaniel, you have no idea what the play is. So you have to learn it on the fly. In terms of like flexibility, my coach always says that like formations are suggestions. So there's obviously certain plays where he'll let us, split out if it's like third down instead of being in line, or some plays he wants us in line for certain passing concepts. In certain plays, we have like bunch formations, but we can adjust the bunch based on like what kind of passing concept we have to, for different distribution of the route kind of combination. But like overall, we always have like an assignment, and we don't have too many reads because our offense is like a timing offense. So it's pretty much getting from point A to point B within the timing of the play. Whenever Tua is ready to throw the ball, or whoever's in there to throw the ball. And so there's not a lot of options in our routes. It's more about just getting there as quickly as possible and getting there at the right time when Tua is ready to throw the ball.
Yeah, Tua, that's a big name to bring up. It was interesting to see, with what happened with him with concussions and things like last year, all the media jump on board there. Do you worry in the NFL? Have you had issues with concussions?
No, I've actually never been diagnosed with a concussion, even in college. Been super lucky that way, because I know some guys who can't stay away from them, and some guys who get them, don't tell anybody. Some guys who think they have them, and they don't actually. But I've never had anything where my head's been ringing or I couldn't see or anything like that, because I've had teammates come off the field and be like, hey, I can't see right now. You got to put somebody else in. Like, I can't see for a few minutes. Like, I need a second. For me, it's not something that I worry about. I think the more you worry about injuries, like the more prone you are to having them. And so just kind of accepting that football is a violent game, and that there's a lot of big, fast people that injuries will happen. You just kind of have to go with it and take the punches as they go. For me, like, I always thought I was Superman in college. I was never really injured during football season. I feel like I could take a lot of hits from guys and keep going. Usually guys would hit me and they would get hurt. And so like I kind of built up a lot of that. And all of a sudden I come to my first preseason game, I'm literally just running and I don't even get hit and my knee tears. Like it's as quick as that when reality shifts. So it's not something I worry about. I kind of try to take care of my body to the best of my ability. And if it happens, you figure it out on the way. But in terms of concussions, they are scary. Like watching what happened to Tua was pretty scary, but seeing how he was able to come back from it and be completely healthy again is also a good sign of hope, that no matter how bad, guys can always come back if the doctors let them, and be fine and be able to play football the rest of their lives.
Yeah, you talk about how football, especially in the NFL, it's extremely violent, is the term you used. Football is a violent sport. And, I know Tanner Conner. A lot of people know Tanner Conner. He's this soft-spoken, nice guy. When you walk on the field, Tyson and I were saying, when Tanner's on the field in the NFL, how does he make that switch where he goes from the nice Peter Parker, Tanner Conner, to the superhero Superman like you talked about, and make that switch into the violent game?
Yeah, this is a good question, because it was my biggest struggle my entire life, was being like aggressive in any sport, whether it's football, basketball. It is why I always gravitated towards track, is because there was no violence involved. I didn't have to be mean to anybody. I was always a nice guy.
Nasty though, you gotta attack those babies.
So messed up in the head to do hurdles and be aggressive. But in high school, I remember one day my dad, I played free safety in high school. My dad's like, you need to just go up there and use your speed to hit people. You can't be afraid you're going to run over every single time. Because I got run over a lot in high school. Like I really could not figure out how to be aggressive. And I kind of was able to flip that switch when I was on the field, that if I just went full speed at people, that I could be able to take them on and I wouldn't have to be scared. For me now, at this level where I have to be run blocking against giant defensive ends, where if I'm off by a little bit, they're going to throw me in the ground, I have to be able to flip that switch. During training camp last season, 2 of our fullbacks went down. We didn't have any fullbacks left. And so my coaches, in my opinion, were testing me. They were, hey, Tanner, you're going to play fullback for a few days. You're going to be in the backfield in a 2-point stance. You're going to run up the middle and hit the linebacker. And so I was used to being on an island playing receiver, catching balls, being a pretty boy. Now I have to go up and fit up in gaps and, cut out linebackers. And so for me, I don't think it's something that, I wouldn't say I'm fearless, but I say I use the fear to help like motivate me on the field. Like I know I'm going to go hit this dude and this dude's bigger and stronger than me, but if I do it at full conviction, I know I can win that rep. And so I still don't have that aggression inside of me, but I'm able to channel like who I am to be able to go and play with an aggressive mindset. And something I've always been really good at is when I get the ball in my hands, I turn to a completely different player. Like I'm not the nice guy anymore. When I have the ball in my hands, it does something to me. I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to run through people, run over anybody in my way, and get to the end zone. And so that's what my coach really liked about me when he watched my film. He's like, I love how you get the ball and you just refuse to be tackled by anybody. Like that was the biggest appeal to me. And so I'm trying to translate that to the running game a little bit more. Still got to learn my technique and stuff, but it's definitely a switch that I have to physically turn on, because if I don't go out there every single day with an aggressive mindset, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah. And I've seen that mindset with you, even especially at the collegiate level. Every time they found a way to get the ball in your hands, it was like you had this breakaway speed, and your strides are so long and powerful. It didn't even look like you were running that fast, and guys were just falling further and further behind you. Every time you got the ball in your hands, whether it was a curl route or whatever it may be, going deep, it was a touchdown, which is pretty impressive. So it is true. What you were saying is true. He's not Peter Parker. He is truly Superman on the field, folks. I'm telling you.
That's what I try to be every time.
Yeah. So we're planning on sharing this podcast with collegiate football players. I'm sure you're probably aware Black Label just did a huge deal with Idaho State. You might have heard about it. One of the first companies that's doing a $250,000 donation in supplements and putting every ISU athlete on an NIL program. And we're going to be sharing this podcast with them. But what would you tell NCAA college athletes, especially football players at Idaho State or any NCAA school, about what it takes to get to the NFL and what it takes to stay in the NFL?
Yeah. I have been following. It's a pretty crazy thing what you guys are doing. When I first saw it, I couldn't believe it. I think it's awesome that you guys are doing that, especially at a school like ISU with such limited resources. That's like a huge blessing to all those kids. I would have been very helpful for me, my first couple years if I had that, but I'm glad you guys are doing it now. And so my advice for, in the collegiate level and excelling there to be able to get to the NFL, it's not always about where you come from. Obviously, I've proven that, whatever school you're at, Jared Allen obviously proved that he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And so I think it's just about playing to the best of your ability. It's really about just envisioning yourself succeeding every single day. That's something that I really took pride in college, is that I would, before games or before even track meets, I would like sit in my room for like 10 minutes. I would visualize success over and over and over again until like in my mind, I could not see anything else but me being successful. And so there was times where I'd visualize myself like catching the ball, breaking tackles right into the end zone. It would happen in the game. It might happen differently in that, but like in my mind, that's the only conclusion I could get to. It was very successful for me in track and field because I would go out there before games or before track meets, and I would meditate and I would watch myself go over every single hurdle perfectly, every single time, over and over and over again, winning by a large margin. And so I think being able to like really channel like your mind and being able to visualize things and really be able to see it and believe in yourself is truly all you need. Like no matter how much I've seen there's way more talented guys than me who aren't in the NFL because they just didn't have the mindset. Like being able to train yourself to see success and be able to put in the work, do that every single day, become disciplined even when you don't want to work out. Cause a lot of guys can be like, man, how do you like working out every single day? And I'm like, I truly don't like working out every single day. I want to stay home and play video games. I want to stay home and watch Netflix. But like I've created a discipline within myself to where that even on the days I don't want to go in, I'm going to go do it anyway, because that's who I am. That's what I have to do to get to where I want to be. And so I would say your mindset every single day, visualizing success, and then just creating disciplined habits. So even on your bad days, your days where you don't feel good, where you don't want to do it, you still just go do it because that's a part of your being.
Yeah, no, you're right, Tanner. Before asking that question, I didn't think a whole lot about it, but those athletes that become elite are some of the strongest mentally, not only confidence-wise, telling themselves that they're good, but like envisioning anything and everything they do before it actually happens. And I think athletes either have that or they don't. Sometimes, you either have that good, strong mental mentality or you don't, because it's hard to learn that.
Yeah. Good thing is it is very much a skill that you can learn, though. It might be harder for some people. For me, it was easy. I've always been like very imaginative. I could view things in my mind, and like as a kid, I loved like action movies and action TV shows. And I could see myself like being a superhero, like fighting against people. Like that's how I was as a kid. And as I grew older, like it just became something that was in my sport now. I could see myself being the guy helping my team win, see myself be making plays, winning big side championship titles. It became very natural for me, but it is something you can teach yourself. It just might be harder for some people than others.
And I think it comes with maturity too.
Yeah.
Some kids mature different. I think you're like a lot of athletes that, you know, maybe in high school you say you were getting run over. Well, at the college level, that wasn't happening, right? So you mature at a different level than some of the other collegiate athletes. So that's pretty interesting. Really.
Yeah.
One of the unique things about Tanner, this is one of our first podcasts, but Tanner was our very first NIL athlete ever at Black Label. Now we have multiple, but that's one thing you have, Tanner, is we recognize your talent before anyone ever, and you were our very first NIL athlete, which is an honor to have you as a Black Label athlete, and we're super stoked about it, and I'm so glad that you're spending time with us. So thank you.
No, thank you guys. That was a huge blessing for me. I mean, I got your stuff almost out of my fridge right now. Got my raspberry cream. Me and will still use it. Like I have all that stuff on my facility, but I like that stuff better, and so that's why I keep getting it. But that was great for me. I mean, it's something that I really needed in college, and the fact that you guys are able to do for so many other people, especially for obviously football players and people who really want to get big, it's something that's super important for recovery because, I mean, the facts are facts. College athletes are malnourished in all their nutrients and nutrition. So the more good stuff you can get into them for free, the better.
So as a rookie, you talked about, getting pranked and hazed a little bit. So the stories are true. Like they'll take the rookies out and give them the restaurant bill or give them the drink bill and all that stuff.
Yeah. So this is funny because I got made fun of. So in our team meeting, McDaniel would have the rookies stand up and he would have them, talk about who they were, where they came from, position. And then it was always ended with your signing bonus. And so I had to tell him my signing bonus, and mine was a whopping $5,000 when I signed the Miami Dolphins, which is not only, I think, the minimum amount they can give you, but it's usually an amount that you're not going to be there very long for. They also gave me number 48, which is a number you cut during camp on a tight end. So
I saw that. You didn't look good in 48. You look much better in 80, by the way.
My agent was very adamant. The day the roster came out, he's like, "So when are you going to change your number?" And so my coach came up, he's like, "What do you want?" 80 was available, and so I took it. But so yeah, a lot of rookies, especially the drafted guys who get giant signing bonuses of close to $1 million, they'll get taken out by their position group, the best restaurant in town. They're gonna order whatever they want, wine bottles to go, the whole shebang, and then they're gonna hand them the bill. Luckily for me, my tight end group wasn't as brutal because I only had a $5,000 signing bonus. So they took me to dinner. The bill was like $1,500, like $2,000, then they all split it with me. So I didn't have to succumb to that. I also did a good job of not being the rookie that annoyed them. I, was always holding the bag for them, bringing them stacks and stuff and trying to do my best to make sure that I wasn't going to be the one that was going to get hazed. So they had mercy on me, but it definitely happens. I have a lot of rookie teammates who really went through it and had to do a lot for their position group, but that's kind of just the ritual of the NFL.
That's crazy because a lot of you guys, that are making league minimum or whatever it may be, that's a lot of money.
Oh yeah, it's a lot.
It was there. No contract, league minimum, $5,000 sign-on bonus, and we're sending you the bill. That ain't right. We need to change that.
That's you're 100% correct, but it's a lot different than what I was getting in college for my stipend. I'll tell you that. So
$800 stipend for food and housing. Yeah.
But it was not.
Those kids are starving.
It was $128 when I left a month, and I think I had $400 of it going towards rent and utilities. So I was really struggling for the rest of my stipend. But you know what? It makes you stronger. I have teammates who don't appreciate the things they have, and I appreciate everything I have now. And it definitely makes you work a lot harder and for things, because a lot of guys that I've been with who have come from these bigger programs. It's great to have all that stuff, but they become very complacent and kind of expect things to be handed to them. So even though it sucks at the moment, man, it really made me mentally strong.
So when you're talking about contracts and you can share what you're comfortable with, not money-wise, but like when you get into, so if I remember right, you went into a rookie tryout and then a rookie mini camp and then OTAs. And I don't know exactly what the difference between all those are. I mean, you could tell us that, but do you get paid? You said by the day at that point?
Yeah. So, I signed my contract last May before I did any physical work with them. Yeah, everybody signs a contract, and everybody think all my friends are like, oh, it's cool. You have this contract with all this money, but all the contract does is tell you how much you make if you're on the team. That you're not guaranteed any of that money. And so, no matter how much my yearly is, if I'm not on the team, they're not going to pay me. So, the contract is kind of a pay scale of what you get. So I signed a contract in May, the rookie minimum, and then you go to rookie tryout mini camp. They bring in other rookies who are tryout guys. They're not on a contract. They'll try out. I was on a contract, so I was pretty confident I would get the rookie mini camp. And then they take the guys from there and they go to OTAs and they go to training camp. With outside of your contract, you get paid a certain amount per day. I actually don't even know what it is. It's like a couple $100s a day. During OTAs and training camp, that isn't a part of your contract. Your contract is how much you get paid when you play games. They're called game checks. And so we get paid twice a month. And so it'll usually be 2 games or 2 or 3 games in one check, and you'll get paid that twice a month. So you get paid based on the games you're playing or on the active roster for. Any kind of money you make during training camp, OTAs is separate. It's a lot smaller than what we make during the season, but that's how they kind of segment it throughout the year. And then they also just changed to where we get paid over 36 weeks, which is a lot longer than the season. So we'll get paid half of it during the season. And then I think our checks are about to end at this next check, the end of the month. We've been getting paid the whole offseason, the second half of our game checks, because guys in the league, as smart as we are, we're burning through their money during the season. Then the offseason would hit and they'd have no money left, surprisingly. So they spread it out a lot more to help guys out.
That's good. That's good. So one of the things, and I don't know, you're not a huge social media guy, although you got the blue dot on Instagram because you are in the league. One of the things that I've been noticing is Tanner Connor's getting some shout outs from different news outlets, things like that. The other day, they were announcing that there was 80 days left. I was looking up on my phone, 80 days left until opening kickoff, and they used images of you in the 80 jersey. And I'm like, hey, that's Tanner Connor. That's our guy, right? How does it feel when you're, just sitting on social media and people are tagging you, and next thing you know, somebody's posting Tanner Connor to represent the NFL in 80 days?
Yeah, it's really cool to see the secret fan base you have. I think it's something I really didn't understand until I got to the league. I remember vividly we went to the Chargers last season, and I've hardly played. I've only played special teams at this point. There's no way nobody knows me. I'm walking after the game, I'm walking on the bus, and there's a group of guys who want my autographs, and I'm like, you don't want my autograph, you want the guy behind me, because Mike Gesicki was behind me. Like, no, you're Tanner Carr, we want your autograph. So I came over. Like, man, we've been watching you throughout your college career. We thought your highlight was really good, and we want to see how well you do for the Dolphins. So it's cool to see that, no matter how small or big of a name you are, there's always going to be fans. I get fan letters from little kids with my trading card that I signed in college, and they'll want me to sign it and bring it back. So I'll sign it, throw in a hat, some gloves, because these kids are fans of me before I became anybody. And so that's something that's been really cool. Obviously, the social media stuff is cool. When the Dolphins tag you in something, you always get new followers because a lot of people follow the Dolphins. They see a guy they might not know, and then they follow you after that. Even my dad, he was at a game one time, and some random guy saw the 80 on his jersey because he had my jersey on. He's like, oh, I've watched your son through college. I love all of his tape. I can't wait to see what he does for us. And so it's cool to see how far of a reach and impact that you truly have without even knowing it. And that was something that was really eye-opening to me this first year.
Do you ever wake up in the mornings and pinch yourself and go, I just came from, it's Kent, Washington, right, where you grew up?
Yep.
Kent, Washington, and here I am living in Miami in the NFL. It's got to be like a dream sometimes, right?
Yeah. There's some days I get home and I'm like, man, it really doesn't get much better than this, what I have. And I think that's why I'm so confident that no matter how long I play, I'll be able to play long enough, because I appreciate everything I have so much that I have a relentless work ethic to keep it and to continue to support my new family and stuff like that. But yeah, every day I wake up, I go into this amazing, we have one of the best facilities in the entire league, with everything, hot tub, these giant pools and cold tubs and a massive weight room with a slide and all these fields and just unlimited resources, however many snacks or propel drinks or muscle milks I want. And just from what I came from, I just never had any of that. And so it's awesome. Every single day I wake up, I'm just super blessed to go out and I get a lot of guys to make fun of me because they're like, man, you ever gonna go home? Because they see me in the facility all the time. On my off days, I'm just in there, like, because there's just so much stuff, and I've never had any of that before. Now it's like awesome for me. But the life I've built this past year has been awesome. You know, getting married and pursuing your dream, you know, with your partner and living together has been really good.
So with this, you know, NFL lifestyle and with this success, what are ways that you try to give back, Tanner?
So, the ways I try to give back is I've actually just set up a charitable gift fund this off season to where I put money in there. And then I'm actually in the process of kind of deciding where I want to send that money. I'm kind of looking for a cause that I really relate with because I've been blessed growing up to where I've never had any issues. Like I had a full household, you know, parents were, you know, married. And so I'm kind of looking for something that kind of strikes my heart as something I want to be passionate about. And so I'm kind of pooling money together in this charitable gift fund. And once I find something I like, I'm going to start donating to it. And obviously, hopefully, you know, starting my agency is really good about, you know, helping guys, you know, start a nonprofit or with this work with a nonprofit. But I really haven't found anything yet that really drives it home for me. My dad owns a nonprofit sex trafficking charity back in Washington. And so I've donated some money to that. He's had that ever since I was a little kid, and I worked with him, and I worked, you know, in that charity for a lot of my life. Me and my brothers did. So seeing a problem as big as that, sex trafficking in the SeaTac area, like really was something that hit home for me. And so that's something I kind of attach myself to at the moment, but I'm still kind of looking for something that I really, you know, identify with. Full disclosure, like I'll give money to like my church because I'm very faithful, you know, my tithes and offerings and stuff like that. And so kind of giving back to what I really felt, you know, got me to this place. And so as of right now, I haven't really found anything. I'm kind of working with Kelsey to try to find something I'm passionate about, but I'm definitely in my head. I'm definitely, you know, have money set aside to it because I want to be able to help people. Like that's truly what I want. So like it doesn't really matter how much money you have. If you have a lot of money, I think it's selfish to not be able to give back to the people that you care about. So I'm still kind of working on that.
No, I agree, Tanner. One of the mantras that I live by is a successful person isn't successful unless they use that success to help others. Success is worthless if you don't use that success to help others. But I got a deal for you. Send me your dad's link because I would love to donate to sex trafficking through Black Label. And when you set up your foundation, Black Label will be your first donation.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Out. So you're a great young man. You're extremely respected in the Pocatello Idaho community at Idaho State. People talk about you all the time. We're super proud of you as a Bengal. And I'm sure the people of Washington are extremely proud too. But we've taken a lot of your time. Any last message you want to share with people before we sign off?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say how good you guys have been to me these past couple of years. Obviously, I was your guys' first athlete, and I truly you talk about me being starstruck now. Like when you guys gave me my first deal, like that was kind of my first starstruck moment. Like these guys wanted to give me stuff and like promote me as like an athlete. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so seeing what you guys have done now has been awesome. I obviously still use all of your guys' products because they work and they're great. But you guys, more than just the products and what you guys have built, like you and Tyson are great people, and you guys have done such a good job of keeping up with me, respecting me as an NFL player in my time and my space. And so I'm just super grateful for you guys and everything you've done for me and everything you guys are doing for other athletes. You guys are awesome human beings, and I wouldn't have wanted to work with anybody else. So,
well, thank you very much. That means a lot coming from you, Tanner. And after we close here, we're going to keep you online because we're going to talk about giving you more stuff.
Yeah,
cool. Hook you up. So,
but I have one more question though, Tanner, before we go. I mean, we could talk all day, but I'm a track guy. You know, I'm a track and field athlete, and you were too, which I love. Tyreek Hill ran in the club championships in the indoor season. Did you get to talk to him about that? Have you talked about getting out and racing 100 meters?
Yeah,
like that.
He's talked about. I think it's just something he wanted to do on a whim because I think somebody said something to him about how he's not fast anymore. He's like, no, I'm gonna go prove it. He went and ran that race and he ran pretty fast. So he's got a lot of pride behind his speed, and so I think that's the reason he did it. It's something that I don't know if in the future I'd like to do. It definitely wouldn't be hurdles. Am I hurdling? Like it's over with, but in terms of
no Devon coming out.
Fallon is, man, what he's doing is pretty groundbreaking. But I was never like a truly gifted hurdler. I just worked really hard at it and ran fast over him and aggressively through. But it's something that I still have a great passion for track. And it's something that further down the line, I think my heart might be into coach in track and field rather than football. I really enjoy the sport. It's something that it's really what gave me my dream anyway. Like without track, I wouldn't have been here.
Yeah. Well, I got $100 a foot race between you and Tyreek.
Yeah, we gotta see that.
Far.
Well, you tell me how far away with the buddy down. Yeah.
It's be farther than 40 yards because he's going to obliterate me in anything short.
We'll do 110 meters, and then I got money on you.
Perfect. I'm confident in myself. I have a lot of guys on my team who test me. I have a lot of receivers who think that they're faster than me, and we go and do we'll go do like flying 10s or first 10s, and I'll be like up the fastest time out of a group, and they're like, man, you don't look like you're that fast. I'm like, hey man, I don't go around telling people I'm fast for no reason. Like, it is what it is. A lot of guys have tried me though, and a lot of guys have failed.
Yeah, don't try Tanner Connor's speed. I'm telling you, don't do it. It's unmatched. Well, thanks, Tanner. We really appreciate you. Keep doing the good work that you're doing. I'm not a Miami fan. I've always been a Chicago fan, but I'm a Miami fan now. So we watch you. We're going to be cheering for you. Please tell Kelsey hello, that we're thinking about her, and we're glad her knee recovered, and we're glad that she's still working out hard and keeping you in line. But thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll have you soon on another podcast, maybe at the end of the year when you're done.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tanner.